people are like, oh man, you like give me some like validation of like, you can sing or whatever, and like and stuff like that, but never even really thought too much about it until like after college when I started like writing, my own songs and showed them to like people I was playing music with and like people I was in bands with, and like they seemed to, like it and want to be a part of it. And so that was definitely some validation when I like started making joining bands and people really like, wanted to write songs together and stuff like that.
I'm Adam, and thank you again for for bearing with me yesterday. That was wild.
You're good.
Yeah, and this is about you and your journey in music. We'll talk about the latest EP release and the tour. I'm in Nashville. I know you're coming here
Oh
at the
yeah.
end of this month, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. And I'd love, yeah, to kind of hear your story. I always start with kind of your origin. You were born and raised where? Cincinnati, Ohio. Is that what I saw?
Cincinnati, Ohio. Yep.
Tell me about that. My family's from Elyria, like Cleveland area.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Born and raised here in Cincinnati. You know, it's a good place. Midwest is a solid place. Not the most exciting in
Yeah.
the whole world, but I liked it. Yeah, and then always, really been into music. Like I got a guitar for Christmas in the seventh or eighth grade, and just kind of always my mom really, had a good taste in music and like kind of grew up listening to like John Prine and old folk songs and stuff like that. So always been into like singer songwriter kind of stuff, and took me a while to like kind of get the courage to write my own stuff and be on stage. I'm not one of those people that's like born to be on the stage kind of thing.
Sure.
It's a nerve-wracking thing for me. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, after college, just kind of like joined or played in a few bands and did that thing for a while, and then kind of knew in the end though that my heart was always in like folk music, singer songwriter, Americana stuff. So
Mhm.
kind of branched off in the past year, and it's been a wild couple months since then.
Oh yeah, man. What? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just to rewind a bit, you said mom was into music, singer songwriter stuff. Do you come from like, does your mom or dad, or do you have siblings or anyone else that plays music at all, or was it like you the first? Were you the first one that really started to?
Yeah, yeah, not really anyone musical in the family. I was the I think my yeah, like they had my mom had really good taste in music and liked and kind of like showed me a lot of cool artists and stuff like that, but didn't really play anything. I think the only reason I got like a guitar for Christmas anyway was because I'm the youngest. I got an older brother and an older sister, and they were like going off to college, so I was like essentially going to be an only child. So
Okay.
and so they're like, I guess like this will keep them busy. This will entertain them, and I'm glad that they did. It was a good gift.
For sure. Wow. So I saw you went to college for golf though, right? You're a
Yeah,
golfer. I
yeah, yeah,
just started like getting hard into golf like in January.
yeah, yeah. That's
So
awesome.
that was super intriguing. I was like, "Oh wow." So
Oh yeah,
were
I
you
also yeah played growing up. My older brother played, and my dad was pretty into it too. But yeah, it was something. Yeah, I was decent at growing up, and ended up getting a scholarship to go to college for it, and did that for 4 years. It was awesome. I mean, I really liked it. I love sports. I'm like a big sports nut. I have to be doing something like active out on the road. We always have like a football or soccer ball or whatever to kick around. But
Yeah,
yeah, really enjoyed it. It's fun. I love being outside and still like to play. I can't play obviously as much as I want to, but
sure.
it's a relaxing, fun thing to do still.
Yeah, I love going out. I was on your tour, I was gonna say, I wonder if you're gonna hit any courses on the
I
on the
hope so.
road.
I got to see if I can fit my golf clubs in the van somehow.
There
We
you
gotta,
go.
gotta check that out.
Um, well, I mean, golf is not something easy, and it's definitely like any other sport, it's something you have to dedicate a lot of time to.
Mhm.
Was that like your main focus for a while? And I mean, you get the guitar with seventh or eighth grade. Was it just something
Yeah.
that you like to do as a hobby? And then
hmm
how did that did you join a band in high school? Like, where did that kind of change?
Yeah. So I like golf was always kind of like my main thing. And so I always kind of focused on that, especially in high school and definitely in college. And then after college, you're just kind of like done with it, and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna play competitively anymore. And I guitar and with music was something that like I definitely did in most of my free time when I wasn't playing golf and whatever. And after college is when I like really kind of like got the bug and was like, I love writing songs. I love, this is like my outlet for how I feel about the world and all of these different things. And pretty soon, right after college ended, is when I like formed some bands and played around and started, playing live shows and trying to record music and write albums and stuff like that.
Hmm. With you said you weren't always the one that wanted to get up on stage, and you didn't have that bug
Yeah.
to be kind of front front and center. Were you like, when did you write your first song and like show somebody? Like, did you get any like validation early on that like, oh wow, Michael's
Yeah.
actually like great,
Mhm.
songwriter, or
Yeah, honestly, like in college, I would like play a little bit, and I didn't really like show anybody the songs I was writing or whatever. But like, when you're hanging out with your friends and like you play a cover or something, or
Mhm.
they sing along or something, then people are like, oh man, you like give me some like validation of like, you can sing or whatever, and like and stuff like that. But never really thought too much about it until like after college, when I started like writing, my own songs and showed them to like people I was playing music with and like people I was in bands with, and like they seemed to, like it and want to be a part of it. And so that was definitely some validation when I like started making joining bands and people were like wanted to write songs together and stuff like that.
Right on. And you were in a band. I mean, I don't know if you still play with them, but you were in a band that the Heavy Hours, which actually had like some pretty big, moments. Like you guys are fairly successful at that.
Yeah, so yeah, the Heavy Hours was the what I was in for the past few years, and it was really fun. We had like some really cool moments, and got to do a lot of really really cool memorable things. Like we got to write with Dan Auerbach and like play like a lot of really cool shows. And we never really did like any headline shows or anything like that, but like got to go on tour with a lot of really cool bands. Got to like play shows with some of my favorite bands and meet so many cool people. And I think I like for me like it was really cool to get that experience. Like I needed, I think that experience of like learning just the ins and outs of the music industry and even just how to play a show and how like touring works and stuff like that. Like it's kind of a the music industry is a weird world and touring is a weird world to be in. And I definitely needed that like experience and practice to try to get some years under my belt before this whole thing started.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so when this happened, it was like you were ready. You already had like the experience under your belt. It wasn't like you had this song and it blows up and you
Yeah.
haven't left,
Mhm.
Cincinnati, and you've played a couple open mic nights or something like that. And they're
Exactly.
like, okay, we're gonna push you out to the world. Like you already
Yeah.
kind of had that whole life experience. When you
Yeah.
went with that band and you guys, I would imagine what you signed a record deal, or I mean, you had a lot of things happening. Like
Mhm.
how, like when that was happening, were you focused like fully on music at that point? Had you already decided like you had the bug and that's what you wanted to
Yeah.
do, and
I was
you're
yeah, I
already
was
all in?
yeah, I was pretty all in on music when it was with the band, and it took up a lot of our time, and got to do like we got to go on some like long tours and do some cool things. So yeah, it definitely took up all of my time. But yeah, it definitely having that experience helped me be more ready. I don't know if anyone's ever ready to like, for something to like happen so quickly, but I'm definitely really grateful for those years. I always wonder, I'm like, how do these like 20-year-old kids just like go from like 0 to 100 so fast? Like that's got to be a crazy, crazy world.
Right. And well, not a lot of them. I mean, I guess not many of them really you find after a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it
like the
definitely,
people that had the experience prior,
yeah,
kind of understand what's going on, are the ones that can continue to write. Or like I've had other people on, or you talk to people that have, they put one song up on TikTok and it's like a verse or a chorus of it, and
yeah,
then it blows up, and then they have to try to finish the song, and then
exactly.
they have nothing else on their Spotify, and it's like you have, a catalog, and you have prior experience in
Yeah,
artists, or as an artist and stuff,
mhm.
before this all really, exploded the way it did.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I'm super super thankful in the way it all worked out. It's been a lot of fun.
Sure. When did you like, did the band just kind of fizzle out and you decided to say, you know what, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
pretty
start
much.
my own project?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, pretty much. It kind of naturally just kind of fizzled out. We made a few albums and went on tour, and didn't really get to the place that we were hoping it to. And a lot of the guys in the band, were getting married and having kids and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And just
Trying
moving
to
on
feed
naturally.
families and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
which is cool and stuff. And but I always kind of knew that deep down I wanted to explore a little bit more of the folk world and singer songwriter things. I felt like I still had songs I wanted to write and things that I wanted to say, so I was willing to give it one more chance.
Mhm. And was the first you put out, was The Other Side the first song you released,
Yeah,
under
Other
your own
Side was
name?
first song I released, and then Scared to Start after that.
Okay. And with The Other Side, I mean, that song blew up too. I mean, Scared to Start is like
Yeah,
insane, but I mean, even The Other Side is insane. I mean, was that song something that you put out and then it kind of caught fire early on? Like, kind of tell me about putting that out and then leads to,
yeah. So
Warner Records and then an EP and everything else that has kind of
yeah,
fell
so I
into
was just kind
place.
of like teasing songs on TikTok and stuff like that, but then I didn't really know what to do, so we had like put the other side into like Spotify because you do it like like weeks early. You don't just you like put it in and like we're gonna release this in a month or whatever.
Mhm.
And so like the other side was like planned on coming out, and during that time in between when we like submitted it to Spotify and it was ready to come out, like I posted that thing about Scared to Start, and that and Scared to Start was like the TikTok that like really caught fire and kind of got a life of its own, and so people were excited to hear Scared to Start, but we're like finding out about the other music kind of through Scared to Start. So it was like this cool thing where, people were really, really excited for that one song, but kind of like some people, like got attached to the other song too. So I had like these two songs that people were excited for, and it was a really cool moment. It was like really overwhelming and a wild, a wild couple months for sure.
Mhm.
Especially, when like you are new to the social media thing and you have people being like, we need the song now, and you're like trying to like ignore negative comments and just kind of enjoy the positivity or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so other side ended up coming out, and then a couple weeks later Scared to Start, and like other side did insanely well and like blew my expectations, and then Scared to Start came out, and then I was like, wow, this is really kind of happening all so fast. This is cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like when you had the first, kind of viral video, was it with The Other Side or was it when you did Scared to Start?
Scared to Start was like really when it happened.
Okay. What was that? I mean, having posting this thing and do you just come back to your phone and it's like bazillion views and you're like, what
Yeah,
is
a
this
100%.
broken or
Yeah,
what's going on?
so I like nothing, like I was pretty new to TikTok, and like I didn't really know exactly how it all worked, and like all of my things that I was making, were not getting any likes or views really. And then I posted Scared to Start, and it wasn't even that like creative of a video. It was like a picture with like the lyrics on it. Like wasn't even really a video at
Wow.
all. And I posted it, and in like the afternoon I remember like like checking it later that night and being like, oh, like this is cool. Like it's got a couple thousand views. Like people are liking this, and like this is more than I've ever had before. And I
Mhm.
texted my manager from the band before, and I was like, this is cool. Like, here's the TikTok I made today. Like, people seem to be digging this one. He was like, texting me, and he said something like, wouldn't it be cool if we woke up tomorrow and it had like 10,000, 20,000 views? And we woke up the next day and it had like almost a million. And we're like, oh, this thing is taking off in a way that we are not expecting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if I had that moment, I would just be like sitting there and refreshing the page, just
Exactly.
like some
Yeah,
dopamine
that's
hit
what I
like
did
every
for like two
second.
straight days. It was just like we refreshed every like second, but also like it's also like this weird thing of like a little bit of anxiety inducing, like what's happening, like what is this going to mean, like so it's just like this a lot of emotions for sure, a lot of feelings.
Oh my gosh, man. And then to have the thing I always find cool with stories like yours where it's a song on TikTok or something. I mean, that really has to you really have to have people love the song enough to be like, "Okay, I like this piece from this video," because it's not the whole song.
Yeah,
And then they have
exactly.
to open up another app, which is like for some
Yeah.
odd reason like the hardest like, "Oh man, I got to open up Spotify."
Yeah, I know.
And then, like, they open up Spotify and then, 200 million people listen to it, and then they also dig down into your category or your other songs. It's like, "Oh, wow, well, I
Yeah.
like that one." So, it's
Mhm.
cool that you really built this totally organic fan base that wasn't just like
Yeah.
this one song, and then you look at your numbers and everything else, like, no one cares. It's like all of
Yeah.
the songs people care about, and you
Mhm.
get these people to leave one app to another and then follow you there or,
Yeah.
stream you there. I mean, that's
Yeah.
so it's wild to think, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. it's so wild, and I'm super super thankful for yeah, like TikTok is a weird, scary place, but like it's a really, really cool community, especially with like the folk world that I'm kind of in. Like people just seem to be so genuinely like open to new things, but so like loyal and supportive. And to have like, people go from seeing a random video on TikTok to then listening to the song to then the last step is then like buying tickets to come see you live.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
and that's a huge jump and like a huge ask to people because like it's one thing to be like, oh, listen to my song, but it's another thing to be like, come to my show or like, like
Right.
drive
Take the whole
with me.
night,
Yeah,
pay
exactly.
this much money, take the
Exactly.
whole night off. If if they have kids, get a babysitter.
hundred
There's
percent.
a whole thing, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's one of those things where I'm like just never ever gonna take for granted people actually like wanting to come out to see the music and live in a venue and to see like the trickle down effect where like just this one TikTok and people listening to the song is gonna lead to like being able to play a tour across the country is something
sell out a whole tour across the country.
is just like I think that's the one thing for me that's like the coolest thing or like the hardest to really grasp is like man this is people are willing to support me and it's just like a humbling amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's one thing to see the numbers. I mean, once you get to 200 million, I mean, I'm sure it's just got to be like, okay, my brain can't even fathom that anymore.
Yeah,
It's just like these numbers on a computer
exactly.
screen.
That's what I would tell everyone. They're like they would like ask about a number or like you reached this number today or like this amount of listeners and it's like to hold your phone and see that number it's like it's literally it's just like just pixels on a screen just a number like doesn't really mean anything but to see like to go play a show in a city I've never been in have people come out and sing that's when it's like very real to me.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It was more like, 200 million. After waking up in the morning and nearly having a million, then your mind is blown, right? And then it's like after
Yeah,
that, you're just watching, and then at some point, it's like, okay, that's beyond what I can even comprehend. But then to
exactly.
say, I'm gonna put this tour out, or I'm gonna put this show up for sale, and then people buy the tickets, and then you're like, wow, okay, that's
Mhm.
because it could have went one way where it's people stream the song, love the song, and then it's
Yeah,
hard to convert that into ticket sales.
for sure, for sure. And it's again it's like something that I just like yeah there's something about the community and like the people wanting to support artists in this like little folk world that it's just really cool. It's really 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 cool meeting these people too out on the road and having conversations and it's been awesome.
That is awesome. Is that where, Warner Records and all that kinda started too? Was it through that TikTok like, did you already have the song recorded and
Yeah,
just put it
yeah.
up
So I
kind of
had like
independently and then
mhm.
this all happens?
Yeah, so I had like 3 songs recorded. That was like all I really could afford at the time, and yeah, the TikTok kind of like opened up a lot of doors for me, and that kind of like viral moment, and end up yeah within when that song kind of was going off, like took some meetings with some with labels that had some interest, and yeah, Warner was awesome. They were really really cool, and just felt like kind of like no other label. They were just like super super interested and talked just like wanted to support me as an artist and kind of let me do my thing but we're coming from a place of just like yeah being really supportive felt like a family and it's been really cool.
That's so awesome. And then so do you go back then I mean, with, the American Romance EP, do you go back and re-record the songs, or is it just like, "Oh, we'll keep the ones that are already
Yeah,
killing
we
it?"
just we just kept them. They've kind of again just like let me do my thing and have had trusted me and then went back and recorded a few more, and that kind of finished the little EP. And then I've gone back one more time and recorded 3 more songs, and just kind of like slowly working towards an album, and maybe a couple more singles before the album. But yeah, working towards like full album, by the end of the year, and to just give me like a full like 12 song album to like tour on and stuff like that for next year.
Wow, that's so cool. And then you re-released a version um of Scared to Start, right? That
Mhm.
recently through
Yeah.
the with a, her name's on it, Joy,
Oh yeah, Joy.
Oladokun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How did that connection happen? Was it somebody that you knew and loved the voice, or was it, presented to you through,
Yeah, it was just one of
other
those things where
people?
like I especially right now in like the folk scene, there's just like so many cool collaborations going on. Like Noah did a whole album of like, collaborations with other artists, and it just seems like a really supportive thing. And I always thought, even when that song came out, I was like, it'd be cool if I could get, if like another person would sing on it, eventually. I think that'd be awesome. And we kind of had the idea with management and the label. We're just like, let's try to, see if we can get someone to sing, and kind of like asked me who we should go for. And Joy was at the very top of my list. I love her music a lot, and she just seems like, I just think her voice is incredible. And she was down, and so she went down to Nashville and sang it in like a day and absolutely killed it. Turned out so cool.
Wow. Did you record in Nashville? Your album?
No,
Or not
I
not the
recorded in
album, but
upstate New York.
okay.
Yeah.
So with the first versions, I mean, or the versions that are on the EP of Scared to Start, where was that just done locally, like in Cincinnati, or did you do those in New York as well?
I did those in New York too. There's a producer in New York. His name's David Barron, and I did some songs with him with the old band, and just like had a really awesome connection with him. He's just one of the best people I know. He's so unbelievably talented at what he does, and I didn't want to do it with anybody else. Yeah, he's kind of like, I I love what.
Cool. With even with like the other side of Scared to Start, were those songs like when you teased them on TikTok, was that a fully produced song or was it just you playing and then you're like, oh wow, I gotta go
Uh,
record
yeah,
this?
there are different people go from seeing a random video on TikTok to then listening to the song to then the last step is then like buying tickets to come see you
Yeah,
live. Like,
right.
and that's a huge jump, and like a huge ask to people, because like it's one thing to be like, oh, listen to my song, but it's another thing to be like, come to my show, or like, like.
Recording a song and just knowing like at like this is a great song, right? Like you
Mhm.
knew kind of that at that moment it was great. Like when you wrote that, when you wrote Scared to Start, were you did you kind of have it like inkling like, oh man, like this song I think can do something? Or was
Uh,
it just another song that you had written?
yeah, and you always have like the hope that when you write a song that like it's gonna be like the one or whatever. But it Scared to Start was like, I had so many versions of it, and like it was written honestly like 4 years ago, and something that like I just never like could record in the right way that I wanted to. It just never, I never really like found out exactly how I wanted it to sound. And so when I finally got it recorded up in Woodstock, New York with him, like, and we like kind of stripped everything back, and we like just, we're like, let's just make it as simple as possible. Just like a guitar and some piano and some drums. Like that's when we had that version, that's when I was like, oh man, I really, really like this. This is kind of the sound that I've been looking for so long.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's the lyrics are awesome. I mean, all your lyrics are great. Like, was that something you always had talent with? Was like writing and or
Um,
creative writing in a way?
yeah, I've always really enjoyed it. I think like it's one of those things too. It's like I'm slow with it, and I'm a little bit of a perfectionist with it. So I I I want the lyrics to like stand out and stuff like that. But I also just have really always enjoyed musicians and artists that like really take the time to craft like personal specific lyrics. Like I like when artists write from a place of like specific what they're feeling, and then kind of letting the audience take away from what they
Mhm.
can from that.
With those, or I mean, with other side and Scared to Start, and I would imagine the other one that you had done prior to getting the deal and releasing the EP, were those all just you just wrote those yourself and like did you co-write it all once you went into the next couple, or was it like all just hey, I've got here's a couple more songs that I have.
Yeah, it's just kind
That's
of me, just kind of just yeah.
that's
I I
amazing.
I'm always writing, always trying to write new songs, stuff like that. But yeah, just kind of had some ideas, and went up to New York and finished them up there with David.
That's awesome. And then you're
Yeah,
doing this huge I mean, you just toured a bit where in Europe, I think? Or UK?
yeah. Just did
Yeah.
a full like month or 3 weeks in Europe. Just got back a few days ago.
Was that the first time you ever played out there?
Yeah,
Or
that
did
was
your
the
other
first time
band
I've
tour out
ever.
there?
No, it was the first time I've even ever been. Like I was in like a new city every day in a place I'd never been before. It was amazing.
Oh, man, and then playing to people that know your songs, I mean, that must
Yeah,
have been such a trip.
absolutely wild to like experience, being in a foreign country that doesn't English isn't even their first language, and going to a place you've never been before, and then having people show up and sing your songs back to you was like, I really don't even have words. Like it's just truly, truly unbelievable.
That's so rad. Have you done is this your first I mean, you're doing a headline tour, this one coming up, but was this your
Yep.
first time doing a head like,
Yeah.
playing the States with this project?
Yep, definitely. First time doing a headline tour anywhere was like this Europe tour, and then first time doing a headline tour in the States right now. So yeah, it's all happening. It's all a lot of things on my bucket list, or all my dreams are all kind of happening for me right away, which is it's just really crazy.
That is so cool. Well, I appreciate your time, Michael. Thank you, man, so much for doing this and being
Yeah,
so
I
cool and
appreciate it.
flexible. I just a million apologies for yesterday.
Oh no, dude, you are all good. No, this is
um,
great. I love talking to you, and your questions were great.
oh, thank you, man. This has been a blast for me as well. I have one more question for you before I let you go.
Yeah,
I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists, knowing all
yeah.
you've gone through as bands
Hmm.
prior and what you have it now and everything that's going on.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, it's funny. I would definitely. I think my biggest advice would just be like, it sounds cheesy, but just like write and make the songs that you personally want to make. Like, try to be as authentic to what you like, and as you possibly can. I think like the audience, especially nowadays, is way smarter than a lot of people give them credit for, and they can kind of like see through, when music artists aren't being like authentic or whatever. And so I think just, yeah, just like writing exactly what you want to write, and not letting other people kind of like steer you in another direction. Is probably my main advice. And I guess the other advice would be, don't be shy about posting on social media. Never know what can happen.
Bringing it backward.